It's Patrick at Pals. Well, 70 Torino is now waiting on the electric doors for the headlights. And you can see it needs it because this is all broken right here. Jim, you got the steering and the brakes done. How many times would you say you took apart the brakes?
With the problems we were having with the aftermarket parts, I've had the brakes apart, I'd say 7 times.
7 times for the brakes to do a disc brake conversion on this car.
Yeah, it's not normal, but this one it wasn't cooperating.
Now, the steering is the same way, right? How many times did you take apart the steering?
Actually, that was only about 4 times.
4 times apart.
But that's every time you're fabricating, you got to assemble and pull them apart multiple times to make things right.
Now, it's not for the faint of heart, right? Because on the steering, you had to cut the steering shaft and you had to cut the steering mast, right?
Yeah.
And then you had to weld pieces back on after you cut them.
Yes.
So this is something that, you know, somebody at home says, well, I can do a power steering conversion on one of these cars. But unless you really have intricate knowledge and are able to fabricate, it's not a job you should attempt at home. This is something that's left best for the professionals. And even on the brakes, we had the problems with the wheels contacting the calipers, and then you had problems with the booster getting it to work properly because it's got what is that thing that you call it on the back?
It's called a bell crank.
Bell crank, yeah.
And what it does is it changes the geometry and pressure that's put on the master cylinder. Plus it puts the booster outside because your booster and master cylinder is sitting way up higher here than when your pedal is. So the bell crank assembly mounts to the firewall and places the master and booster higher up. So if the geometry is wrong on that, it's not going to want to stop properly.
So again, these are things that you have to do. And if you're at home, you probably don't have the knowledge because you don't work on these. We do these all the time, and we realize that you have to modify every one of them. They call them bolt-on systems. They're not. You have to modify them. The other thing we did to this car is we set the carburetor. And when we set the carburetor, the customer came in telling us it was a 351 2-barrel. When I did the video and showed that it was a 4-barrel, Rene was incredulous. He didn't know that he had a 4-barrel. Like we said, most of these cars were 2 barrels when they came out. This one's been upgraded to a 4-barrel. We've got the carburetor set now. This car is ready to go home until we get the doors and the motors from Germany to rebuild the headlights. That's right, I said Germany. There's a good support source in Germany for Ford Torinos. If you've got a Ford Torino and you want power steering, power brakes, and you need your headlight doors refurbished, bring it to Pals. See you soon.